Welcome everyone, Questini here with a discussion about Gorbad Ironclaw in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empire's Omens of Destruction, the new legendary lord for the Greenskins. Taking a look at his faction effects, lord effects, his unique mechanics. In terms of faction effects, it's called Invasions Done Proper. Has access to the plan, allowing unique and powerful tactics to be applied to by your armies. So the way these tactics work is you have a slot at level 1 with a lord, then another slot gets unlocked on level 5, another one at level 15. And there's various effects. You get improved rewards from successfully completing a WA. You get an income from raising settlements plus 15%, which personally I don't use, and you have a global recruitment duration benefit that currently doesn't seem to work. And I say that because if I recruit a lord over here in Black Crag, you can see that none of the units that I have here, except a couple, and that's just because I have a lot of settlements, but like things that aren't attached to the main settlement building, like even basic goblins with spears, are not affected by it. So I think right now it's bugged. Hopefully it will be fixed in a launch version. Yes, I have said this through the channels to Creative Assembly. We'll see if it is fixed or not with respect to that. Now you start here between Black Crag and Iron Rock. You start with Carrick Drum. And you start with 2 tier 1 settlements, a shaman, some orc boys, which I have replaced over here, some orc archer boys, and a goblin bolt thrower in this particular campaign. And you can get Carrick 8 peaks fairly quickly because you can defeat the army here, take some damage, deliberately take some damage, not necessarily all that much, but take some damage, and then force march your army as close as possible to Carrick 8 peaks in range of the army over here. That army, which is only a full stack if you're playing Belegar, Skarsnik, and Puig, I believe, will come and attack you, or at worst, it will move in Valea Sorrow, where you can defeat them anyway. So you can get Carrick 8 Peaks, which is a tier 3 settlement, on turn 1, or rather turn 2. That is a good amount of power. Now, in terms of lord effects and skill line, you get minus 10% upkeep for all units and armies. You get a leadership power size plus 100%. You get the Orcs' best ability, so weapon damage, melee attack. You get Gorbad's Wa, which is more weapon damage and melee attack, and also, yeah, armor piercing damage. Wa is for Gorbad to have a chance to contain big guns and boar units. You get Big Banner Boys for Orc Boys, Big Guns, Orc Archer Boys, and Orc Boar Big Guns as some special upgrades over there. So he's all about the Orcs. You do start with the barracks over here that allows you to recruit Orc Boys. And look, if you get Carrick 8 Peaks on turn 1, you can also in 6 turns start getting Black Orcs. So I'm not sure I would recommend that, but you can start getting Big Guns pretty damn quickly in this campaign. You got a feel for Forgrim though in this campaign. Like, he used to be sandwiched between orc factions, but not to legendary lord sharing borders with his initial province like Skarsnik and Gorbad. I mean, you can always still rush Skarsnik and then turn your attention to Gorbad, but yeah, that is going to be tricky all the same. You get a boar who with that stupid grin on its face. If you're playing as Gorbad, can't really show it over here on the campaign map, so that's your mount. Item-wise, you get melee attack, magical attacks, the Mangler active ability, so armor piercing, base weapon damage, charge speed, charge bonus, and causing fear. Then you have, here's the plan, 10% character experience, research rate, and the boss has a plan, melee defense, leadership, expert charge defense. Then melee attack, melee defense, weapon strength for melee infantry units. Faction-wide, for your Lord Army, you get missile strength ammunition and dig in ability for range units. You get Strider, speed, and charge bonus for cavalry in your army. You get glorious charge ability. Holy crap. That's pretty damn sweet. Charge bonus and the great leader. So melee attack and melee defense for allies in range. Vigor loss reduction. 50% upkeep for WoW mobs units. Frenzy for WoW mobs units. So these are the units you can get from a WoW. By the way, in regards to WoW rewards, you gotta pick. Are you gonna get money in scrap? Are you gonna get certain units? That is one change that the CA has made. So that is Gorbad's faction effects, his lord effects, his items, his starting position. But let's talk about his victory conditions and his unique mechanic. His victory condition is not particularly fun to engage in. So you gotta activate 5 unique plan tactics, so you gotta put those those buffs. There's a reason I only have 3 out of 5 over here. But that's not really the problem. The problem is you kind of have to secure all of the balance. Now, you can do this with military allies, so you can ally quick if you want to. But, yeah, it's a bit sketchy with respect to that. Especially since your long campaign victory condition is to burn Nuln and altars to the ground. Now, that makes sense because that, and also Solent, control Solent, that makes sense because that's what Gorbad did in the lore. So that's what it is all about. Now, in terms of the tactics, the plan, you have big plans, bigger strategies, and master tactics. These are all kinds of buffs that you can get for all your armies, faction-wide. Some of these are unlocked just by having certain combinations of units. Other things require you to do certain objectives, like kill 750 enemies with trolls, which can give you, if you have troll units and orc infantry units, it can give you blockers for orc infantry units and smashers for troll units. Or, you know, you get some research over here with regards to that, and you can get missile block chance for goblin infantry units, but you do need to have them in the army. Then with so those are tactics, the big plans, the big strategies. Like, it's just various effects that you do get. So for instance, you know, complete the call to WoW 3 times. That gives you WoW reputation gain per turn, ward save, perfect vigor for Gorbad, lead their charge in a mass. So all kinds of benefits they do unlock. Now, how do I feel about it? I admit I don't much care for it. I'll do a full review when I can, but I do find it annoying that you do have to maintain, that you don't just have to complete these objectives with units to get these benefits. Rather, you have to constantly maintain these units in an army, because and with a lot of armies, there's a lot of tedious micromanagement, I think, which is, by the way, what Greenskins do. Greenskins, like, the more you play them in a campaign, the more stuff you get, right? But what I do find annoying about all of this, like, it's quite a bit of micromanagement, because these buffs don't last permanently, and you do have to have certain units. Like, oh, you want to have flammable attacks for missile units, you gotta have 1 squig in an army. It doesn't sound all that big, but keep in mind that when you're playing a longer campaign, you're looking at maintaining quite a lot of armies, and you do this for every single army. I'm not really sold on this unique mechanic, personally. And that's really all I can say at the moment. In terms of the legendary hero, so Snagla Gopspit, he simply requires you to pick up the Gloomy Hollows, build it. You can't just confederate for it. So it's a tier 2 building, and then you got to get 6 spider units. He's focused on buffing that. I didn't care about getting him all that much in regards to it. One advantage you do have in this campaign is you can get ogre mercenaries, because you do have an ogre camp over here in the Bitterstone mine camp, and then another one over here in the Matorka camp. So if you ally Scrag, or if you have decent enough relations with these Greenskins, you can get man-eaters and man-eaters with ogre pistols. Quite crucially, I'd say that's the most those are the most useful units. So you can get up to 3 of these units per army. I understand what CA is trying to do. They're trying to push us towards diversity, diversifying units. That's probably why they limited recruitment. That's probably why they've done a bunch of changes to Greenskins. But here's the thing. Ultimately, yes, I'm not using nasty skulkers and stone trolls anymore as much. I mean, I still use them, I still recruit them, but the thing about it is, how do we build armies comes down to two things. One, the auto-resolve score of an army, and two, its effectiveness in battle. But when I talk about effectiveness in battle, it's not just a question about winning a battle. It's also a question of winning a battle with as few casualties as possible, because you don't know how many fights you may have to deal with per turn, or you fight one difficult battle a turn, your army is decimated, you've won, but then come 2-3 other armies that same turn or turn after that. So that means, and this has been the case for a long time in Total War, and I think CA should change it, because you can talk about all the unit diversity you want in the freaking world. This is a problem in many other games, many other races. It's not just a question about this DLC or this race or anything like that. It's an inherent issue in Total War. As long as the auto-resolve punishes for lower armor units, guess what? We're gonna fucking gravitate towards higher armor units. As long as the auto-resolve punishes us for, diversifying our armies as opposed to melee blobs, if you will, well, there's no reason for it. And in actual battles, you want units, again, that win, that do a high amount of damage to the enemy, but also take less damage. So you don't want units with rampage. You don't want an army that's a glass cannon army. It's an issue for Khorne, if you will, with bloodletters, or it's an inherent issue with demon units in the game. So that's all I gotta say right here. I do appreciate the fact that we can get multiple scrap upgrades for orc units, so it does allow for a greater amount of customization as opposed to just having that one upgrade that's better than everything else, right? But yeah, I'm not really necessarily sold on Gorbad's unique mechanic. And yeah, that global recruitment is bugged at the moment. But I'll do a full review on this later on when I can. But that's Gorbad as he currently is. Costin signing out.